Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is going to be an episode of How I Would Have Booked. The topic of this one, how I would have booked the CM Punk Pipebomb and going forward after that. Now, a little bit of a misnomer because I wouldn't have changed the Pipebomb, but that's what we're going to call this for the video purposes. I would have left the Pipebomb exactly the same as they had it. I think they did a great job with that. I would have left Money in the Bank exactly as they had it. Thought they did a good job with that as well. Coming off of that, where I would start my changes would be Monday Night Raw, the next night after Money in the Bank. On Monday Night Raw, I'd have Vince and Kennedy McMahon come out to the ring, say, look, I want to work this out. I didn't want it to get this far. I want to figure this out amicably. Legally, you have 30 days to defend your title. Let's try and work this out. Let's get you a contract. Let's get you back in the fold. Let's bring you back where you belong. Please hit me up, CM Punk. Don't call John Laurinaitis. Don't call Triple H. Call me directly. He says, I'm going to give you 30 days. SummerSlam is 3 days before the 30 days is up. If you don't show up by SummerSlam, I'm going to assume you're not going to show up at all. You're not going to want to work with me. So at that point, we're going to put into effect. We're going to get the lawyers involved. We're going to strip you the title on September 17th. August 17th, because it'll be 30 days after you won the championship. While this is going on, we have famously on that same day, CM Punk puts a picture on his Twitter of the WWE Championship in his refrigerator. I'm going to keep that the same because I thought that was friggin' hilarious. I'm going to add, though, that he keeps doing a couple of things he did, like going to Comic-Con and confronting Triple H at Comic-Con. I thought that was really good, so I'm going to keep that pretty much similar. I'm going to keep him going to Cubs games, showing up at Blackhawks games with the championship. I think that's all good stuff. The more little weird appearances like that he could do, the more places he could be seen that's not necessarily WWE, the better it's going to help tell my story, which ultimately is going to be CM Punk left the WWE with the championship, and he's not with the company anymore. We get to SummerSlam. Right before the main event, Vince McMahon comes out. He says, all right, last chance. One more time, if you're in the building, CM Punk, I'm here in the ring. I'm ready to work this out with you. Please come down. I don't want it to get this far. Please come sign this contract. No one answers. Vince McMahon leaves the ring. We go to Monday Night Raw the night after. Vince says, since CM Punk didn't show up for Monday Night Raw, we're going to get our lawyers involved. We're going to start proceedings, and we're going to have a tournament for the WWE Championship, which is going to vacate on Thursday. Thursday is the last day of the 30 days. Legally, we can't vacate it by then, but we can start our tournament tonight, and that's what we're going to do. The end of the tournament's going to... The championship is going to be decided. The finals of the tournament will be at Night of Champions. So now we have setting up going forward. Night of Champions is going to have the finals. Of course, Punk, we see or don't hear anything from him. He does some little things with Twitter, some things with the Cubs, which leads us up into September 10th, which is the first time we actually hear CM Punk being involved in wrestling again. And that's at the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla Perils of Rock and Roll Decadence show. He's not actually there, but during the show they announced that on the next PWG show, CM Punk is going to be a guest commentator. So he's going to be there to do the commentary for their next show, which happens in a month. So we got it set up that he's firmly out of the WWE now. He's going to other companies, taking bookings elsewhere. We've laid the groundwork for him not being a member of the WWE. The belt's already been stripped off of him at this point, so that's going forward. They're going forward as if he's not an employee of theirs. So we got both companies where we need them to be, kayfabe and reality-wise. The next thing we have to continue the story on, we have Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, Death Before Dishonor number 9, which comes to us on September 17th. Hailing from New York City. Now remember those two things. That's very important to our story. In the weeks leading up, we have the world's greatest tag team. They're beating everybody. They say at the iPay-per-view, which this was at the time an iPay-per-view. It's a big show for Ring of Honor. We're going to lay an open challenge for the tag team championships. But we want to face a tag team that we haven't faced before. We lay this open for anybody in the world to come in and face us for the tag championships. They get to the iPay-per-view, world's greatest tag teams in the ring. We hear some familiar music, but it can't really be. It's CM Punk and Colt Cabana, the Second City Saints, come out to challenge. The roof blows up, the internet blows up. We see a really good match between the two teams. Haas and Benjamin pick up the win. Afterwards, they shake hands, go amicably. Again, we're having CM Punk seem to not be under WWE contract, which would include wrestling at places like Ring of Honor, which at the time, they would have never did. It would have been something that WWE would be against. All the while, in the background, I'm booking this with CM Punk. And the reason why it's against the world's greatest tag team, because as WWE, or me working with WWE in this scenario, we know them, and we know that we could trust them, and we know that, hey, they're not going to hurt our guy. So, again, it leads more credibility to him being an outlaw, being someone that's ran off from the company, which leads us right into our next night. The very next night, WWE is running their pay-per-view, Night of Champions, which is the culmination of the tournament, the finals. It's on September 18th in Buffalo, New York, which gives us... You notice the distance is not that far. It's going to come into effect here in a minute. The main event of the night is John Cena versus Rey Mysterio for the finals. Winner takes the WWE Championship. Rey Mysterio wins. You see him, he goes, and you see him celebrating with the crowd, high-fiving. There's a guy that's been sitting in the front row all night, the entire show, that's been kind of overly enthusiastic and drawing attention to himself, wearing a Mysterio mask. Mysterio goes over, high-fives him, hugs him, shakes his hand. The guy pulls his hood back because he's wearing a hooded sweatshirt to cover his tattoos. Pulls his hood back, takes off the mask, and we have CM Punk. The announcers go silent. Everything goes silent. It quick cuts to a shot of the announcers, and you see the shocked look on their face. They don't know what to do, what to say. They thank us for watching a great pay-per-view, and they rush the pay-per-view off the air. So it seems like something that shouldn't have happened. CM Punk bought a ticket and sat there the whole night, unlike what they do when they have people that buy tickets that are there just for the match or the match before. Make it obvious, let him be seen there the entire night and lead up to this, which, again, leads to the credibility, in my opinion, of what he's doing. Now, they don't mention this at all on Raw. They don't mention it any of it on the commentary because they don't want to. In WWE, you got to remember, they would not sell this. They would not, if this was a real event, they would not promote this at all. So they're not promoting that Punk was there. When the DVD eventually comes out, a month later, that part's cut out of the DVD. So, again, they're going back to not selling what this was and what happened, so to keep it more of a realistic pace and storyline. Which leads us to our next WWE pay-per-view, Hell in the Cell, where we have Alberto Del Rio versus Rey Mysterio for the WWE Championship in a Hell in a Cell match. Match is going good. The referee takes a bump. We see Kevin Nash come out from the back. Kevin Nash demands the referee on the outside give him the keys, pushes him down, takes the keys from him, enters the ring, seemingly tells the guys to go at it, that he's going to take care of it, he's a ref from here out. They go at each other. Nash hits Rey Mysterio in the back, power bombs him, tells Del Rio to cover him. Nash drags the referee that was previously unconscious over to him. He counts the 3 count. Del Rio wins the championship with the help of Kevin Nash. Now, the next night we go to Monday Night Raw, where Rey Mysterio confronts Triple H. Triple H says he had no idea that Kevin Nash was going to be there. He's going to fix this. He doesn't understand. He hasn't been able to talk to him. His friend isn't answering his calls. Rey Mysterio is a little bit suspicious, as you should be, but he's going to go with it because he doesn't really have any reason not to believe what Triple H is saying. So Triple H plays it up as if Nash was rogue. They get in an argument. Triple H says, I don't want to see you in the WWE ever again. Get out of here. Get out of here. You screwed up my show. You screwed up our finish. Which, again, plays to the reality of the situation. That leads us up to the previously mentioned, the next PWG show, which is Steamwolf. One of the most famous PWG shows in history, actually. I'm not going to change the card at all. I'm not going to change anything. The only thing that's different is CM Punk is sitting in on commentary. And one other little thing. After the end of the show, after we see the fantastic ladder match between El Generico and Kevin Steen, if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it. I'm not going to spoil how it ends. After that, they're signing off. They're thanking CM Punk for being there. And out of nowhere, Kevin Nash attacks CM Punk at the show. So, we're starting to get a feeling that maybe something's a little bit, together. Maybe Kevin Nash is really working with Triple H. Maybe he's there as an agent for Triple H to get to this. Which leads us... These are all fantastically timed, in my opinion, too. That happens on October 22nd. October 23rd is WWE's Vengeance pay-per-view, which sees Alberto Del Rio versus Rey Mysterio in a rematch for the WWE Championship. Del Rio wins, but he wins with the assistance of Triple H. Now we've definitely set in stone that Triple H and Kevin Nash are actually working together. The friends are together. They are trying to screw over both Rey Mysterio and CM Punk. So, going forward again, we got the seeds are planted for what's going to happen coming up next. The next pay-per-view that they're setting up for is Survivor Series, which we have Team Triple H, which is going to be himself, Kevin Nash, Alberto Del Rio, and Cody Rhodes. And they're going to take on Rey Mysterio, Kofi Kingston, Evan Bourne, and a question mark. Everybody assumes the question mark is going to be CM Punk, but sometimes you got to make the question mark obvious because you want the fans to tune in for that. And yes, it does end up being CM Punk coming in. Punk and Mysterio's team wins with Punk and Mysterio standing tall, being the last two survivors. Which leads us to Raw the next night, where Triple H is ripping into Mysterio, threatening to fire him for bringing in a guy that isn't even contracted there. We see Vince McMahon also come out and say, look, this was a big liability. We're in the middle of a lawsuit with this guy, and you bring him to our show. You bring him onto my television without asking me what to do. And, furthering the fact, maybe this is a little bit realistic. Maybe it's a little bit more real than it is. Oh, by the way, in Survivor Series, he doesn't have theme music. He comes through the crowd. So, there's that. Again, sense of realism needs to be added in. This leads us to a match. Ultimately, Ray says, okay, well, here's what we're going to do then. At the TLC pay-per-view, let's do a tables match. Triple H and Kevin Nash versus me and CM Punk. And then, that way, we'll get it signed. We'll sign CM Punk to a one-match deal. They lead up to it, the Raw before the show. We find Rey Mysterio has videotape of CM Punk signing the contract and getting it notarized for one match, one opportunity at TLC. Go to the show. Punk and Mysterio pick up the win. They beat Nash and Triple H. The same night, John Cena wins the championship off of Alberto Del Rio, which is going to keep him on the trajectory to face The Rock at WrestleMania, which is what we were leading to already, which I'm not going to change that at all. The once-in-a-lifetime match, as Ace quoted. It's a huge match. Why would you change that? It's going to be huge. But anyway, I digress. Coming off of that, the next night on Monday Night Raw, we see Nash is upset. We see Hall is upset, or not Hall, I'm sorry, Triple H is upset. So used to saying Hall and Nash together. We see Vince McMahon's out with them. How are they going to fix this? And Hunter says, well, I have the answer. We're going to put the big man against CM Punk at the Royal Rumble. If CM Punk can get past the big man, we're going to give him his contract, exactly what he wants, and bring him back. If not, he's going to be barred from ever showing up in the WWE again. He's going to drop. All lawsuits are going to be dropped. He's going to officially let us win, so on and so forth. Sign over his likenesses, all that good stuff. Basically, Punk loses, or he loses everything. Punk wins. He's back in the company, and Vince McMahon and Triple H sign off on everything that he's asked for. Which brings us to the Royal Rumble event. CM Punk versus Kevin Nash. Punk picks up the win after fighting off Triple H, fighting off Vince himself, fighting off Del Rio, who's come down to help him. Punk picks up the win. He's fully reinstated. The next night on Monday Night Raw, he says, there's a lot of unfinished business here. I'm still the uncrowned champion. I still believe that I never lost that belt. We're going to keep that for a different day. In my contract, it says I could pick whatever match I want at WrestleMania. I could add myself to John Cena versus The Rock, but I'll let them fight and I'll let them decide who's going to win that, and I'll take on the winner at a later point. I want Triple H one-on-one in an I Quit match. And if Triple H quits, he quits as COO as well. If I quit the WWE and I'm out of their hair. We tear up this contract. Again, kind of double jeopardy, but we've seen stuff like this in wrestling before. It heightens the importance of the match, which leads us all the way to WrestleMania 28. Punk beats Triple H. Triple H is stripped of power. Punk is there, celebrating, happy, and this is basically where I'm going to cut off. From here forward, he's back in the fold. Eventually he's going to come after Cena, and they're going to wrestle for the championship to see who the true champion is. But this puts a bow on the end of the CM Punk versus McMahon storyline. He takes it all the way from Money in the Bank, where it began, to WrestleMania, where he defeats Triple H, who's the figurehead for the WWE, for the McMahon family. And everybody goes home with a smile. That's how I would have done it. That's how I would have built it. Again, I would have kept them away from the WWE more than 3 weeks. I would have done a little bit more outside of the WWE. I would have changed up some of the inside the WWE storylines as well. But basically, that's how I see it. Let me know what you think. Do you think I went a little bit too crazy here? Do you think... I know there's some things they wouldn't do, like they probably wouldn't have let him do anything with PWG and Ring of Honor, but for the sake of this argument, let's say they will. Do you think I went too crazy? Do you like the way I set it up? Do you like the WWE's version better? Let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments. Make sure you hit like and share. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. But basically, that's all I got to say on this topic. My name is George Coles, and this is another episode of How I Would Have Booked.